Winter had been chewing through Marcus Hale's savings one utility bill at a time. And the worst part wasn't the cold. It was the way his 17-year-old daughter Lila had learned to want things quietly. Marcus was 46, a night shift stocker at a big box store outside Cleveland. The kind of man who could fix a leaky trap with one wrench and still flinch when the bank app refreshed. Lila didn't ask for new boots, even when the soles were thinning, and when college brochures arrived. She slid them under a math workbook like hope was something that had to be hidden from the monthly budget. Marcus didn't need a miracle. He kept telling himself he needed one clean break that didn't come from another shift that would age his back another year. He noticed patterns for a living. Pallets, labels, inventory systems. The way people who cared about value never trusted flimsy cardboard. At work, he watched customers buy stacks of heavy-duty totes, as if they were nothing. Black bins with yellow lids for tools. Clear tubs with red lids for visibility, light blue bins with dark lids for paperwork, and keep-safe items. Those color-coded walls showed up again and again in the stories co-workers told about overflow garages and storage units. And when a guy in receiving mentioned a lien auction across town, Marcus didn't hear treasure, he heard someone's system got abandoned. Late that night, he pulled up the listings, and one grainy photo hooked him hard precisely because it looked boring. A roll-up door half raised, and behind it a tight grid of containers stacked like warehouse aisles, black and yellow in columns, clear bins clustered like windows, pale blue towers disappearing in shadow. No couch, no mattress, no obvious junk, just structure. Auction morning was bleak and fast. A small crowd gathered, regular resellers with trailers and impatient eyes, and unit after unit revealed the usual damp mess that made people bid like they were buying dump fees. When the listing with the bins opened, several buyers groaned and stepped back, as if plastic meant work and work meant low margins. Marcus stayed focused on the math he understood, even empty, that many commercial totes were worth real money, and people didn't build a color-coded grid unless they were protecting something. He set a strict ceiling in his head, raised his card once when bidding stalled, absorbed 2 lazy counterbids, and watched the others peel away as soon as the numbers stopped being easy. When the auctioneer called sold, Marcus didn't feel lucky. He felt responsible, like he'd just signed a contract with a question mark. The paperwork was quick, the deadline brutal, and the manager's tone too casual when she warned him he had 48 hours to clear everything. Marcus drove to the back row to just find his door, and his stomach sank when he saw it wasn't a standard locker at all. It was a bay, tall enough to swallow a work van, the kind of facility rented to contractors and movers. And the listing photo hadn't hinted at the scale. He filmed the unit number, the lane, the camera pole, then lifted the roll-up door only a foot, refusing to step inside before he had a plan. The grid behind it ran deep, not stacks but lanes, black and yellow walls, clear red-lidded windows, and pale blue towers at the back like a separate room. Dozens of lids marked with round inventory stickers that caught the fluorescent light. Through one clear bin near the front, he saw foam corners bracing a dark hard case, stored with care, not tossed. Marcus lowered the door, locked it, and stood there with the key cold in his palm, because one thought wouldn't let him breathe. Nobody builds a private warehouse out of color-coded bins, then stops paying and vanishes without a reason. Marcus came back the next morning with a rented box truck, a dolly, moving blankets, and Lila riding shotgun in a silence that meant she was trying not to hope too loudly. He parked where the facility cameras had a clean angle, filmed the door number, the lock, and the concrete of the threshold, then rolled the bay open just high enough to let light spill into the first aisle. Up close, the wall of bins wasn't a pile at all. It was a system. Black totes with yellow lids forming the outer spine, clear bins with red lids clustered where someone wanted visibility, and pale blue stacks pushed toward the back like a separate department. Small round stickers sat in the same corners on dozens of lids, and the floor showed scuffed paths, as if the same routes had been walked for months. Lila's eyes flicked from sticker to sticker, and she whispered, almost annoyed at herself for noticing, "This looks like inventory, not storage." Marcus didn't answer with drama. He answered with action, laying down a blanket near the entrance as a clean staging pad, and taping 3 zones on the concrete. Sell, keep, hold, because he refused to let adrenaline make the day sloppy. The first black bin he opened was almost disappointingly normal, and that steadied him. Clean linens sealed in plastic, towels still wrapped, kitchenware packed with cardboard dividers, the kind of careful household packing that said the owner planned to come back. The second wave changed the temperature of the room without adding any sound. A clear red lid bin held watch boxes stacked like files, each wrapped, each numbered. Another had graded sports cards and rigid sleeves, organized by sticker codes that matched the lid. A third was full of collectible sneakers, tags still attached, pairs packed heel to toe, like someone understood resale better than comfort. Lila took photos while Marcus wrote quick notes. And for the first time in months, the math in his head stopped sounding like panic and started sounding like a plan. Then he noticed something that made his stomach tighten. Several lids had label shadows where stickers had been peeled, leaving clean rectangles of residue like missing names. And on one red lid bin, the underside of the lid had 3 words in thick marker: "Hold, do not dump," written like a warning meant for somebody who already knew what the unit really was. They didn't touch the pale blue stacks until the front aisles were safer and wider, because the blue towers felt like the part of the story someone wanted last. When Marcus finally lifted a blue lid, he didn't find treasure. He found paperwork that looked like it belonged in an office. Manila folders, printed intake photos with number cards, shipping labels, claims forms, and lists titled in neutral language that still hit hard: client, disposition, pickup. One folder had a date range and a note that said, "Final pickup scheduled." And that line made Lila's face go tight in a way Marcus hated, because it meant someone might still be expecting these bins. Marcus closed it, resealed the tote, and decided they would not remove a single blue folder item without written clarity, because paperwork can ruin a family faster than any broken couch ever could. As they were stacking a cell pile near the truck, a man in a hoodie slowed in the lane and called out like he was being friendly. He asked if Marcus got the bin unit, and then, too casually, if Marcus had seen any blue containers. Marcus kept his voice calm and short, said he was just clearing what he bought, and watched the man smile without warmth before walking away. 10 minutes later, Marcus's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number that felt worse because it was quiet. "Those blue bins aren't yours. Don't open them." Marcus looked at Lila, then at the endless grid behind the door, and realized the unit wasn't only valuable, it was connected to something outside this bay, something that still had eyes on it. He locked the door, filmed the lock again, and drove home with Lila staring out the window like she was trying to hold her breath until the next part made sense. Marcus didn't answer the text and didn't try to outsmart it, because the quickest way to become the villain in someone else's story is to act like you're the smartest person in the room. He drove straight back to the facility during staffed hours, asked the manager for the lien sale timeline in writing, and requested that any contact about Unit 17 be routed through the office, not through him. The manager's face tightened when Marcus showed the message, not in shock but in recognition, and she admitted there had been weird questions before the auction from people who seemed more interested in paperwork than furniture. Marcus didn't argue about motives. He asked for what mattered: a statement confirming the unit was sold legally as is and that the facility had completed all notices. Then he did the adult thing that felt terrifying because it was slow. He emailed the number he'd found in the blue folder, attached only exterior photos and his purchase receipt, and wrote one plain line. He would cooperate, but only with verified credentials and everything in writing. The reply came within hours, and it was unsettlingly professional. A private logistics firm confirmed the renter had been a consolidation point for returns and client goods. The scheduled pickup never happened, and that the unit fell delinquent while their internal records still showed active items on hold. They didn't threaten Marcus. They offered structure, an on-site verification with authorization letters, a documented reclaim of client property, and a finder's fee plus the legal option for Marcus to keep and sell unclaimed overstock after separation. Marcus insisted on verification first, asked the manager to witness the credentials, and kept Lila beside him for every step so no one could later claim he acted alone or hid anything. When the rep arrived, she didn't touch a thing until everything was photographed, counted, and matched against intake images, and the missing item in the blue stack turned out to be a paperwork ghost, already picked up months ago, but duplicated in an old data merge. The tension in Marcus's shoulders finally loosened, because the problem wasn't that something was stolen from him. It was that the system had been messy long before he walked in. Pickup day felt almost boring, which was exactly what Marcus wanted. The company removed the verified client bins, The manager signed off on the inventory separation, and Marcus received two documents that changed everything. A clean release letter naming him a good faith buyer who cooperated, and a check for the finder's fee that was big enough to stop the monthly bleeding without feeling like dirty money. After that, the rest of the unit became what he had hoped for from the start: honest work. Marcus and Lila cleared the clearly personal household bins and the unclaimed overstock through reputable channels, selling slowly and documented, using consignment for the higher-end pieces and online listings for the rest, never meeting strangers in parking lots, and never letting excitement erase common sense. The totals built steadily instead of dramatically, and that steadiness mattered more than any jackpot. He paid the overdue bills, replaced the tires that had been living on borrowed time, and put Lila's next semester in a separate account she could see, so Hope stopped feeling like a secret expense. The happiest change wasn't the money, it was the air in their house. Lila stopped flinching when the mail hit the mat. She started talking about applications out loud. Marcus still went to work and stacked the same bins on the same shelves, but he didn't feel trapped inside the math anymore. On a warm evening, when winter finally broke, he cooked dinner while Lila studied at the table, and the quiet didn't sound like waiting for bad news. It sounded like space, earned the hard way, kept clean on purpose, and big enough for both of them to breathe.